Spirited Harmony, Episode 4. Cozy vibes and conversations with special guest, Julia Pope. Hi everyone and welcome back to Spirited Harmony. I'm Leslie, your host, and I'm thrilled to have you with me as we continue through November. This month brings such cozy, warm vibes, and today we celebrate with a self-care reminder and a special guest interview with my dear friend Jules, who's truly inspiring. Let's start by taking a moment to breathe and center ourselves. As we dive into November, it's easy to get caught up in all the hustle and bustle. So let's take this mindful moment together. Settle down, place your feet on the ground, take a deep breath. Breathe in again. This time, let's focus on gratitude. Reflect on one thing you're grateful for, whether it's a loved one or small joy or something that brings you happiness in your day, and exhale. Let's breathe in one more time. Inhale, letting gratitude fill you up, and exhale. Sending out warmth and positivity. Breathe in one more time. In. And out. And push all that happiness out into the universe. Just a minute of mindfulness can help you feel grounded and ready for what the day may bring. And now for the highlight of today's episode, my interview with Jules. She's a mom of two, wife, has a career, balancing it all with grace and positivity. We chat about her self-care routines, how she stays organized, and her best tip for navigating through the busy season of life. Here's our conversation. Hope you enjoy. So Jules, I am so happy to have you on Spirited Harmony today.
Thanks for having me.
We're just going to jump right in. Very many hats that you wear: mom, wife, career woman, someone with your own passions and hobbies. How do you balance all those and still manage to be present with your family?
That's a good question. And I think that that's one that applies to all moms, all women.
Absolutely.
Really, not even just moms, all women. I think whether you have children or not, there are a lot of hats you wear. I am a mom, and that is my first priority. Ed and I, we take a lot of pride in putting our children first. I mean, our marriage is first, but our children do come first. And with that comes a lot of hats because of my children having special needs too.
Right.
But as long as I can prioritize the things, all those hats that you listed, if I can prioritize them in a capacity that they are worn an appropriate amount of time each, then I can balance everything out. It's kind of hard to explain. Like for me, career. I'm a part-time administrative assistant. It is a career, and I actually really love it because I work for a psychologist that I learn a ton from. But that's probably the cap I put on the least.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's more of the mother, and I don't know if my advocacy work comes in with being a mother, but it's definitely a big passion of mine. And because my advocacy work involves people with special needs and their parents, it gets worn a lot, whether I'm at home or not. Prioritizing time for myself is something that I have realized how valuable it is in the past couple of years. And it's kind of been an awakening for me these last few years too. We've talked about it, personally and whatnot, how freeing turning 40 is, because you literally kind of lose those insecurities you carried in your 30s of what you thought you were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And as I've slowly shed those insecurities, I have been able to prioritize my own happiness and the things that make me happy. And so in little ways that I'm happy, I like to get my nails done.
Yeah.
I like to get massages. I got a facial on election night. So, for some people, they love to exercise. So they make sure to
Yeah.
carve out that time in the morning. I actually, you can't tell it, but I do like to work out a little bit. I love to dance. And so I find some dancing workouts and I'll do that to
Yeah.
get my blood going and then maybe take a nice walk while I listen to my murder porn, for a better lack of a better term. I'm not so much a true crime junkie. I'm a straight on murder porn. Like it's a pure addiction for me. So I feel like calling myself a true crime junkie isn't really fair because 90% of what I listen to is pretty morbid. The other 10%, Bravo reality. So, it's balanced.
Right.
But those are the little ways.
How do you adapt your routine when things get unexpectedly hectic?
A lot of planning. And this has always been me since I was a little
You're a
girl.
Monica 100%. Like
I am, and you took the words out of my mouth. I am very OCD, and it's gotten worse with age. I think maybe my children's diagnosis kind of spurred it and made it worse because with OCD, it's about control. And when your children get an unexpected diagnosis of autism or something that's just out of control, there's no controlling it. And you never know what's going to come out of their mouth, what they're going to say, what they're going to do. Nothing is expected. Mm-hmm. You find little ways to keep control. And for me, it was like cleaning and organization and things like that that kind of helped me still feel like I had some control over the direction with which my life was going. Mm-hmm. And that was when I was having trouble really just like accepting the cards I had been dealt.
Right.
Now, for me, even as a child, that OCD was already there. And like with school and stuff, if I felt, oh my God, there are so many assignments I'm getting tossed a lot, it was a list. I'm a list maker. I thrive on lists. And I thrive even more on the gratification of marking something off that to-do list.
Oh, it feels so
even now,
something off.
It's, oh my God, I can't describe it. My OCD, it really is a little bit of like this, when I mark something off a list. I can't explain it. It's who I am. I've accepted it. You should accept it too.
So I know you talked about your boys. You have two wonderful boys, both on the spectrum. Can you share a little bit about what daily life looks like for you as a mom of autistic children?
That's a great question, actually. And it varies. Keep in mind, this is just my story. As an autism mom, every autism mom is different. For a lot of us who have our children in ABA therapy, that's applied analytical behavioral therapy. It's a very demanding therapy. It's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. And if you have the right BCBA therapist with you, it's worth it. And for us, we're in an amazing situation. But they like to see him 5 to 4 times a week. And it's not just like an hour a day. It's a 2.5 hour session. Mm-hmm. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's for my 10-year-old. We're in the middle of getting my 5-year-old in right now. But right now, poor Garrett's just riding shotgun every day to therapy with us. And then either hanging out with me while we run errands or coming back to the house and Ed, we'll tag team pickup. But, and something you'll understand that not everybody, of course, who's not from this area, which is Huntsville, Alabama, for the record, it's a very spread out area, and
it's very wide.
Spans like 2 cities. Therapy is close to Southeast Huntsville, so it's a 30-minute drive from school when I pick him up, mm-hmm. through traffic and everything. And I take him straight from school to ABA therapy. And part of ABA therapy every other week we get, and they call it parent training. Mm-hmm. It's really not really parent training. It's more not like telling you how to raise your kid. It's just explaining to you what they're doing in therapy so that if you need to, you can apply those practices back at the house.
Makes sense.
And it's really quite valuable. I've actually learned a lot in these sessions with the therapists. And it's funny to hear the things that Gunner's doing at therapy that he's not necessarily doing at home, or seeing the connection of something he is doing at home now and how it's carried over from therapy.
Right.
So for us, it's been a big game changer. If you wanted to sum up my day, it's wake up, get the kids to school, take care of whatever personal things I can take care of during the day, my own work. I keep our books at home too. So I balance our books like a lot of stay-at-home moms do. They kind of keep the family finances. It makes the most sense. And after I get all that taken care of, if I have some time, I, exercise, all that kind of stuff, get that taken care of for myself, and then pick up the boys, go to therapy. On Tuesdays, we go to performing arts, mm-hmm. Which they love. There's a special needs performing arts center in Huntsville called Mary Mack Hall, and it's incredible. That's one thing I encourage any parent of a special need kid. If they're not really into sports, we did Miracle League baseball with Gunner, wasn't really his thing. But my father-in-law recommended maybe performing arts, and it was like a whole new thing. Gunner loves to sing and dance. It made perfect sense. And so does Garrett. So we've got them in that. And then we do therapy just the rest of the week.
What have been some of the biggest learning moments raising both of them?
Patience. I think patience. Before I had Gunner, I always considered myself to be a patient person. And then I found out I didn't have an ounce of patience on me. And with autism, there's just no way. If you're not patient with them, it's just not going to be a good relationship. So I think a lot of patience has been probably my biggest lesson.
So what are the biggest challenges you faced and what have helped you navigate through those? I know you said the therapy and the theater, both of those sound amazing.
For them, but therapy for myself. I started therapy so much later than I should have. I just started it this year. I started it back in like January or February of this year. Getting into therapy and realizing I needed it and accepting it was a challenge. But once I embraced it, I felt so silly for not going in the first place. I guess maybe I was afraid I was going to be shamed for my feelings of, because,
I think it's our generation. The way we were raised, it was always looked at, therapy was for somebody that was really sick.
Yes. No, yes. You took the words out of my mouth. Therapy was for somebody who has experienced a true tragedy. Therapy wasn't for just maintaining your mental wellness.
Right.
It was for fixing a problem. And none of my problems ever in high school needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
And I was so dramatic in high school. I cried about everything. It was awful. And it didn't hit me till maybe my mid-30s. Because even now I look back and I'm a very laid back adult. And I'm like, why was I so wound tightly in high school? Like, why was I so just about everything? And I'm an empath. I am an empath times a bajillion. And it took my sister being like, Julia, you feel the need to feel everybody in the room's feelings for them. And I was like, well, I don't feel the need to do it. I just do it. It's just who I am.
Right.
And I didn't realize that that's what it was. And I mean, put a girl who's an empath and has no clue what that is or anything about that at 14, 15 years old around a ton of other hormonal teenagers and tell me she's going to handle herself well.
Right.
Right. So, therapy. Even if you think you're the most mentally healthy person in the world, you're not. Go see a therapist. It's just, or awesome. Good for you. Go see a therapist, maintain it.
Well, you need to get it out to that,
yes.
It's non-biased opinion, helpful.
Yes.
I mean, it gets to the point of like, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your family, you can talk to your husband. But sometimes you need that non-biased opinion because even though they have your best intentions at heart, they sometimes will sway one way or the other because they have feelings on that subject as well.
Right. But the biggest challenge overall, and it's something I have said a million times before, and it's hard for people to understand unless you've been in the boat of a child with a special need, no matter what that special need is.
Right.
You have to mourn the life you thought your child was going to have. And that's probably the biggest challenge. We all, you get that pregnancy test back. It's positive. It's all you've ever wanted. You're pumped. You immediately, whether you say you do or not, you start making plans for this kid's life. You're thinking of the sleepovers. You're thinking of the sports teams. You're thinking of the dances, the boyfriends, the girlfriends, the drama, the typical things that a child would experience growing up that maybe you experienced growing up, that kind of thing too. And in one swift diagnosis, all of that is taken away. And you have to mourn that. You do. Because if you don't, you do not adjust.
No.
And it's a lot of my friends who are still my friends, when the diagnoses were made, I'm so sorry, we love him anyway. I know that. Thank you. But every time I'd say, I'm just mourning this, I would be told, don't mourn. That sounds so sad. Don't mourn. No, let me mourn. I have to do this in order to accept all the awesome things that are going to come and change all my milestones for myself and my child and the things that I'm not going to have. But it took me a long time to get there.
You're gonna make me cry. I love you.
I love you too. It took me a long time to get there. And also, you have to understand my background. I have come from a family, and I know you know this, where education is like high priority.
Yeah.
My sister was a prodigy. Like, my grandfather is the super successful FBI agent. So on both sides, I was this concept of overachieve, overachieve, overachieve. And then the idea of having a child with some sort of a learning disability never crossed my mind.
Right.
But once you can mourn what you thought your child was going to have and then accept the beauty in the things they are going to have. And there is such a beauty to Gunner, the way he thinks, the things he observes, the way he feels. There's such a beauty to that and such an innocence to that I just want to protect it at all costs.
Yes.
He has no clue he's different. And if he does, he doesn't care. So we're just riding the beautiful wave that we were given. We are enjoying the unscheduled trip to Holland we were given.
What's your advice for parents dealing with this, or dealing with a child that does have special needs, and how you've had to find resources along the way?
So I didn't have a great resource here. It's kind of funny because there's a lot of autism resources in the area, but the few autism groups I joined, there was a lot of mom shaming and a lot of ugly. I quickly left them because they didn't feel like a happy place to me. And I did another podcast several months ago. I had a friend who was a fellow special needs mom. This is when I cry. Take her own life. And so I literally lost 2 friends in the course of a week. One telling me, big deal, you're a special needs mom, blah, blah, blah. And the other who was a special needs mom, who couldn't handle it. That was a lot.
Absolutely.
I had to do something. My friend who killed herself, her name was Ashley. She was that person, you watch Datelines and stuff, and the victim always lit up the room. Every room she walked into, that was Ashley. She was incredible. Nobody knew she was hurting like she was. Nobody. When I got on Facebook and announced Gunner's autism, and that was, the cards we had been given, so to speak. She was the first person to reach out to me. She was a friend of mine from college. One of my roommates' sorority sisters, actually. She happened to be from this area. She's actually from Heartfelt, Alabama. And she reached out to me. She was living in Athens, and which is where I'm from. And hey, my son's autistic too. Welcome to the club, mama. Let's get together. And she kind of got me through that time. She sent me such lovely, encouraging words. And I did the podcast later on, and it was released. And the last message I got from Ashley was regarding the podcast. And it was words of love and encouragement. We're specifically, keep advocating, Julia, keep advocating. So after I got that email and after I found out about Ashley, I said, this can't happen again. Not on my watch. Because had I known for 1 minute she was hurting, I would have been there. I don't even know if she knew she was hurting like she was. And so I decided that it was time to do something, find a group. And I had asked around, is there a group for special needs parents, like a support group in the area? Because I think that's what we need, is a support group for each other. Not a place to come hate, not a place to moan and groan and bitch about our teachers or our aides or whatever, but a place to come together, maybe share resources and share supporting love, encouragement, maybe do activities together, just getting, together to take care of each other. So I started a group. It's this Madison County, it's It's a long name. Madison County Parents of Special Needs Children Support Group. Rolls right off the tongue. And we meet once a month. I went to the Madison City Public Library here in Alabama. I told them what I was doing. They hooked me up with a meeting room the third Monday of the month. And we get together. The meetings have been very small, 3 to 4 people, but we've had a few new faces, and I think we're really starting to reach people. That's been my form. I would suggest others do the same in their area. If you're in the Alabama area, in the North Alabama area, and you're listening, please feel free to join our group. We've got 70 plus members, I think.
Wow.
So I started the support group in May. And it's been really great. I think source for some. I also got really involved in my kids' PTA, something I never, ever, ever thought I'd be as a PTA mom.
Welcome to the club.
And you're looking at me like, tell me about it. So yeah, so I'm like room mom galore. Like I'm room mom for one of the kids. I'm not room mom for the other, but I'm like in that classroom constantly. But yeah, that's kind of what I do for me.
Yeah.
I would say get involved if you're really struggling. And if you get into a support group or an autism group or any type of special needs group in your area, there's one for Down syndrome called Bringing Up Down Syndrome. It's called Buds. And I think there are like chapters all over America. And that's a really great program. I have some friends who have children with Down syndrome who do that here in the area, and they have like a big fundraiser, and it's a really awesome event. But look into your local resources. I think you would be surprised at what's out there. That was something I think a lot of people told me too when I started. And I was the first of my friends to get an autism diagnosis. I have had a few follow suit and be like, hey, guess what? So-and-so has been diagnosed. And it's been bonding for us with specifically my college roommate and I. Our lives have paralleled so much so that when she called me and said, hey, he's been diagnosed, I was like, of course he has. That's just what we do. You know, like our lives parallel so much in certain ways. But finding the resources and getting into therapy, because even if you don't think it's affecting you, it probably is in some way and you just haven't found it yet.
Right.
I think once you accept it and you find your resources, that's going to be the best thing you can do for you.
Right.
And again, toxic. If they're toxic, if they're not making you feel good about your child, yourself, anything, cut them out. Do it. It sucks. It's hard, but do it. You'll be a better person for it.
And your kids will be better for that.
Hundo.
You won't have that on yourself around them. I know you make the Lego flower or like arrangements. You've sent me a couple of you've done. So what do they mean to you, and how do you fit that into your routine?
I didn't realize how much I loved building things. Really, the Lego thing started with Ed. Before we even had kids, if we went to like Walmart and I lost him, I always found him in the toy section, staring at the Legos. Like long before we had boys or girls. Had we had girls, our house had been filled with girl Legos. But he was just like Legos. And so a couple of years ago for a birthday or something, I got him the Iron Man mask adult Lego set.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it so much. He was like, this is shockingly fun. Like, I'm loving building this, you know? And so he kept saying, you know, they make like little flower arrangements and stuff. Like, you should try that. And I love flowers. I do. I really love flowers. So I thought, oh, I'll give it a try. And so for Christmas last year, I got one of those little bouquet set and I put it together slowly throughout January, and I loved it. And there is something, again, I guess it goes back to like the checking something off your to-do list, but there's something so gratifying about watching something be built. You're like clicking little blocks together. It's hard to explain, but it's a very gratifying feeling.
It's very therapeutic. I will say you. All right, now heading into November, getting into Thanksgiving, like I've started a couple things with my kiddos like that we do on a regular basis, like our thankful pumpkin, just to.
I was going to say, I love your thankful pumpkin. It's one of my favorite things. Reading what the kids put is always my favorite because it's always the funniest stuff.
This year, they have cracked me up. Like Steve wrote Poots, And then Benson wrote turds this year. I'm like, seriously, guys?
See, and I've been waiting for that. Listen, you've had it lucky. They've been really sweet up until now. It's been like Carl and
Carl's still on there. We've still got the whole
Aw.
family named out. We've got friends named out. But then it's like start getting into like, okay, now I'm running out of things to say. Poops.
Right. See, and like Ed would put like boobs or something on the pumpkin or like see,
whiskey the other day. He's like, whiskey needs to be on there. I'm like, okay.
Skibbity toilet. If I hear the word skibbity one more time, I'm gonna lose my ever loving mind.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm alone with America.
Oh no, not at all.
We may have been very divided on this election. I think we're all united on the word skibbity.
Yes. So do you have like a special family tradition that you do around Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving?
We watch all the Friends Thanksgiving episodes. That's actually one of our big traditions is the Friends Thanksgiving. And Ed was a little bit of a true Chandler for a while and wasn't big on Thanksgiving foods. You know, he's not big on pumpkin, potato, yams, pretty much anything that starts with P and comes from the ground. He's not okay with.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. What?
I know. And so for a while we were doing like shrimp boils for Thanksgiving and or steak or just non-traditional Thanksgiving foods. And then a couple of years ago, my father-in-law he was like, I'm so tired of y'all's weird Thanksgiving traditions. Can we please just do a traditional Thanksgiving dinner? I'll even make it. And we were like, sure, you don't have to cook, fine. And he made the most delicious meal of my life. It was so good. But now that's all Ed wants. So for now, our tradition is regular Thanksgiving food again. And usually the football and Friends Thanksgiving episodes. We're big footballers. So we do usually watch a lot of football. And it's almost always that the Commanders Cowboys play on Thanksgiving. And I was raised a Redskins / Commanders fan.
Right.
So we always watch that game.
What is something you're especially grateful for this year?
My friends and my family. I've had some people really show up for me this year, And my husband, I have the most amazing husband. He's so supportive and loving. He really is.
Ed is awesome.
He is. I think he's quite cool. Thanks for introducing us. That helped a lot.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks. But mostly that the people in my life who have proven above all else that they love me for who I am. They put me as a priority in their life.
You have to be grateful for what you have. Any advice, words of encouragement, or a little reminder that you've learned along the way to pass along to our listeners?
Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. I think our generation was raised in a maybe just by another generation, which was stringent. This is the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's black or it's white or it's this or it's that. And it's so much of life is gray.
Mm-hmm.
And life is a learning curve, right? Embrace your mistakes, learn from them, and try not to dwell on them. If you can do that and give yourself a little bit of grace and understand that you're not perfect and that it's okay to hurt, it's okay to be human and feel, I think you'll be a lot happier with who you are in the end. But embrace who you are and be okay with the flaws.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I love you dearly, and I am so happy that you came on Spirited Harmony today.
Thanks for having me.
Wasn't that amazing? Her insights are such a great reminder that we can all find joy in life in its little moments, even when things get busy, and her helpful tips of staying grounded and to remind yourself to take self-care. Wrapping up today, thank you for tuning in to Spirited Harmony. Take a moment for yourself and embrace this season with gratitude. And if you're looking ahead to the holidays, you can also check out my books, Elves on a Mission and Aurora, both available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I can't wait to see you in the next episode, so take care, stay grateful, and remember to savor each moment. Sending sunshine and love to everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed Spirited Harmony, please like, share, or subscribe. See you next time.